everyone. Welcome back to the Pinnacle Podcast. I am so excited to have Kiera Dent here with me today. Kiera is the CEO and founder of the Dental A-Team. So, Kiera, first of all, welcome. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, Rebecca. It's truly an honor. And I'm just excited to chat all things business and women and all the things today. So thanks for having me.
Of course. So for those who may not have heard of you, why don't you go ahead and give an introduction into who you are, what you do, and what the Dental A-Team does?
Sure. So my name's Kiera Dent, and there's always the joke because I do work in dentistry, and they're like, "Is that a stage name?" And I'm like, "No, that like really is my name. It just took me 3 fiancés to get that name." So
Wow.
I didn't marry them. I just get disengaged easily is what I make the joke about. So I'm like, I just need better SEO with the first two. But I started out actually as a dental assistant, and then I became a treatment coordinator and a scheduler and a biller, and then when my husband went to pharmacy school, I got kind of savvy and he got accepted to quite a few schools. And I called all the different schools and I said, "Hey, do any of you guys give a spouse discount?" Because I knew school was going to be really expensive. And Midwestern in Arizona, where he decided to go, gave a spousal discount. So I feel like I got real blessed and real lucky because I actually got a job in the dental school out there. So I worked in the dental college for 3 years. I felt like a tooth lunch lady. So I would just hand out teeth and composite and all the fun things. And then one of the students, she asked me if I would go help her start her practice and be a practice owner with her in Colorado. And I was like, absolutely, yes. I don't have to go to school like you guys just did. Let's do this. So we grew our first practice from 500,000 to 2.4 million in 9 months, and then opened our second location. And then there became 7 practices altogether. And I realized commuting back and forth was a little bit of a strain on my marriage and my life. And so I thought, hey, well, if I could help her, I'm sure I could help hundreds of other dentists that I know. So let's start the consulting company. So that's actually how Dental A-Team came about. And then wanted to start the podcast to just inspire more people to realize like life is just a great, beautiful thing we get to experience. And so and now here we are. So that's kind of my journey and how I went from team member to business owner to speaking with you today.
Wow, that's amazing. So it sounds like you came into the dental industry with more of like an entrepreneurial background, more business focused versus kind of the healthcare side of it. How has that, impacted your journey?
So I was a dental assistant before. So in high school, I started out as a dental assistant. Then I did like all the things. So, but I always had this itch inside of me to run a business. So while my husband was in school, I actually took a business class because Midwestern paid for us to get like free schooling. And I took a class and I made a business called the Russia Brush Club. So kind of like Dollar Shave Club. It was going to be like toothbrushes on demand where we
nice.
Because who honestly throws away their toothbrush and like gets a new one on the increment you should? Like nobody does. So that was the business model. And my husband was like, no, Kiera, don't do a business. Like my family comes from custom home construction companies. Like I watched my family. That's why I want to be a pharmacist. I don't want to be doing this whole business thing. But I just had this innate itch of, I just felt that I wanted this. I knew I wanted to run a business of some sort. So I think in my career, I think having that, I also got my bachelor's degree in marriage and family therapy. So kind of that like therapy side plus entrepreneur, like love of business side. And then the clinical side. I think I just saw all the pieces come together and where the gaps are in all of it. And I thought, you know what, this is what I think I'm called to do. And so let's make this a real deal. But I think I wish I had more business, if I'm honest. Like I've learned all of it just from boots on the ground, bootstrapping it, figuring it out, which I think is fine. But sometimes I'm like, gosh, like reading a P&L was really, really hard for me when I first started because I didn't even know how to do it. So yeah.
That's amazing. So kind of walk me through the experience of launching that first dental practice. You're freshly new into the business. What was that like? What were some of the challenges you faced? And looking back, what was like the biggest lesson that you learned from launching that first practice?
I felt like I was a kid playing house in a dental office. Like I literally felt like I didn't know what I was doing, but like, sure, of course we can do this. Just like little kids think they can make pancakes, right? With their little kitchens. And And I didn't know what the heck I was doing, honestly. So it felt like drinking from a fire hose, which is, I think, is why I'm
Mhm.
so passionate about helping other business owners learn how to run your business successfully. Because,
Yeah.
man, like when the tax auditor came in, I didn't know what the heck was going on. When we almost got sued by a patient, like
Yeah.
tax auditors, they don't have a sense of humor. Like I tried to make a joke and it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Patients trying to sue us, like again, things that I'm like, I don't even know how to prepare for this.
Right.
So I feel like just launching that business, the biggest thing I feel like I learned was I lost myself trying to achieve success. I felt
Mhm.
like if I just worked harder or I ran faster, I would be able to like, it felt like if I ran faster and worked harder, I would make the end sooner. But
Mm.
like there is no end in business until you retire or sell. Like
Yeah.
that's the end. And so I was up at 2 a.m. working till 10 p.m. Like people love the story of 500,000 to 2.4 million in 9 months. And I'm like, yeah, it's a super sexy title, but it's not a super sexy life.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think if I would have just like slowed a little bit and put systems into play and realized that I was truly on a marathon, not a sprint. Like
Mm.
I got into some serious health problems and my marriage started to deteriorate and my health
Mm.
was deteriorating and like people don't see that behind the scenes. And so I feel like I wish I would have just realized like this is a marathon. Like the journey and the process and like it takes time. It's not something where if you just work harder and you grind it out faster, you can like get to the end. Because what's going to happen is you're just going to keep growing and building and adding and making this big, which then like makes the problems even that much bigger. And I didn't
Mm.
realize that. And so I feel like I was chasing more of a status or a success or a destination
Mm.
rather than realizing like this business is a journey and make sure that I'm
Yeah.
living my dream life while also building a business.
Totally. That's so true. And I think it's so applicable for any industry, right? Any position, so many of my mountain movers clients, they're practice owners. And I think it can be so, burnout, as you know, is at an all-time high for physicians and dentists. And I think that's just so wise. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and making sure that even as you're building your own practice, you're pacing yourself and making sure that it's sustainable long term. So
Yeah.
I love that. I love that take. Okay, so you had that incredible success of growing that first dental practice. Talk me through the process of realizing, like, oh, wait, I can make a business out of this. Like, this can be something huge. I can help other practice owners. When did that moment hit you? And then what did that process look like of starting the dental A team?
Yeah, so I think it actually stems back to when I got the job at the dental college.
Mm.
Because I've really tried to place this in a timeline. And I remember in my interview, the dean of the college said, Kiera, why do you want to leave private practice and come work at a dental college? And it wasn't rehearsed. I mean, that's not a typical question. I hadn't even thought about. Like, honestly, I
Mm.
was like just looking for how can I get my husband's tuition reduced because I'm terrified to be in debt.
Yeah.
And when he asked me that, because it wasn't about getting the job at the school for my husband's tuition. It was literally like, why am I leaving private practice? Something I love. Like I turned down full ride scholarships to marriage and family therapy schools. Like I was accepted to
Mhm.
grad school. And
Wow.
in that interview, I remember thinking about my patients at the practice. And
Yeah.
so I was like, yeah, I love private practice. And yet I'm transitioning into the dental school. And the answer
Mhm.
came of because I want to positively impact the world of dentistry in the greatest way possible. And like working
Mhm.
in a private practice, sure, I can influence, but if I could like inspire all these students, just think of that impact.
Yeah.
So going back to that moment, well, then you go and you build a practice, right? Because now you're able to impact bigger, you're able to learn more. And then that same itch, it really came from, I remember thinking, like, if I could do this for this one student, like every class had 175 students and I was there for
Yeah.
3 years. I saw 5 classes worth of students. Like there were so many people in my sphere that I thought like I have a moral obligation to help these students learn and have a resource in the industry. So not
Mm.
to sound like I'm such a great person. Like I'm not trying to paint that picture. It truly came from love of these students and also wanting
Yeah.
to help the best dentist win. And so I thought like,
Mhm.
all right, if I just helped her grow from 500,000 to 2.4 million, adding these extra practices,
Mhm.
what could I do for the rest of these students? So that's
Yeah.
how Dental A Team came. I remember like packing a bag, going to one of my friends' offices. I literally paid him to come in and consult because I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I've never worked with a consultant. I don't even know what this should look like. Like, let me just
Yeah.
come practice. And when we saw, we were able to add, he was doing about 100,000 to 120. And I was there for 3 days and we added 50,000 to his production for that month. So he went from
Wow.
110 to 160 in 1 month. I
Wow.
thought, okay, this wasn't just a one off. I
Yeah.
think we know what we're doing. And if we can help the best dental offices win, like that's my mission, to help just positively impact this world of dentistry in the greatest way possible, which then led to Dental A Team, which then led to the podcast, which now leads to us traveling all over the United States, helping practices. We've even traveled outside the country, but
Mm,
really I just want the best dental offices to win, and I want them to be successful, and I want them to have happy lives.
yeah.
And then I think it's just also helping the team too, because everything's usually directed to the dentist. Like, let's help
Mhm.
them. Let's give them the CE. And I'm like, yeah, but you've got all these people that they're trying to get on board. That's a
Yeah.
heavy mission, a heavy load. So let's
Right.
elevate both together, make
Mm.
life easier, and then give an even better patient experience at the end of the day as well.
I love that. That actually perfectly segues into my next question, which is, so you guys actually go to the office, you travel to the office. Tell me about, because that's pretty rare,
Mhm.
for dental consulting companies. Tell me about how you came up with that idea and why that has been such a big part of your company.
Yeah. So, funny story, I believe heavily in vision boards. And I always say, be
Mm.
careful of what you put on that vision board because it will come to pass. So, when we were at Midwestern in Arizona, on my vision board, it said travel the world. And then there was a type it on right next to it. And I've always just had an obsession with traveling. We just came back.
Mm.
New Year's, I rang in the new year in Bali, and that was my seventh
Wow.
continent. Which most people think it'd be Antarctica, but I got that pre-COVID, and then
Wow.
Asia was my last one. So,
That's
um,
amazing.
I think it was really, I just wanted to travel and I wanted to travel on someone else's dime.
Yeah.
And so, like, why not? This is super fun to go to their practice. But as
Yeah.
it's evolved, I mean, it sounded real glam and glitz until you're gone 265 days a year. That
Yeah.
puts a strain on your relationship as well. But for me, I feel like I started noticing that going into an office, doctors and teams don't even know what is possible, right? I
Mhm.
had that as a team member, as an owner. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't know what other offices were doing. You're kind of on an isolated island. So I think for us flying to a practice, yeah, it is hard. And to find travelers who want to travel across the nation and leave their
Yeah.
families, like, it is a really hard business model. But I just think when we go into those practices, it's like, I feel like it's Mary Poppins and Marie Kondo come together and have a baby, and we're just come in and it's like shake and bake, figure things out, help you see things that you didn't even realize, and to leave those practices with more ease and happiness and team buy-in and a better patient and team experience. And I was able to do that in a matter of, I mean, it's very fast. It's a day and a half.
Mhm.
That to me is so valuable. And I think of me as a business owner and as a team, like, what do I wish I would have had? I wish I would have had a freaking fairy godmother fly in, like, boop, 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 like it's done. All these things I didn't even
Yeah.
realize that could make my life easier. But you're right, it is a strain. But I think the consultants who do travel, we just have this love for travel and helping people just make their lives easier,
Yeah.
that we typically hit almost all 50 states every single year.
Wow.
And it's just something fun to be able to share and help offices realize like they're not alone. You're not
Yeah.
on an isolated island, and we're going to bring you everything from hundreds of offices, and you get that experience in your practice.
Yeah. That's so cool. And I think there's something to be said for being face to face with your clients and being in their world. And I'm sure you pick up on so much more than you would, over a phone call or Zoom. And like I imagine that insight would just be on another level when you're actually there.
Yeah.
So when you go, to meet a practice owner for the first time and you're meeting their staff, and what are some of the first things that you pick up on in a dental office, or some things that maybe you could tell our listeners, if they own a dental practice, what are a few things that you would recommend right away to strengthen, their practice?
Yeah. So first things first, as a team member, teams are terrified of consultants. So you've got to like limit that and realize like, I'm not here to fire you. I'm
Yeah.
here to see what you're doing really, really, really well, because
Yeah.
offices who hire a consultant aren't terrible. Like, they're not
Right.
these falling apart practices. They're doing things really, really well. And
Yeah.
they just want to go to the next level. So like, I'm here to compliment you on what you're doing well, and then also see some gaps of where I can make your life easier. So
Yeah.
I always ask offices like, if I could change one thing for you, what would that be? And I think that that's like just a really simple, it seems so obvious, but I feel we don't ask that. Like, if you just ask your
Mm,
team right now, have all of them fill out a quick survey, like, if I could make your life easier, what would be one thing I could do? And then what
mm,
I start to see is you see patterns. And I'm really big on pattern recognition because typically your team is all speaking the same things. And so most of the time, teams don't care about production. Like, yes, they care about it if it's going to tie to their bonus or if it means we
yeah.
keep the lights on, then they care. But if they don't realize that like production is helping the patient experience, typically
Mm,
they don't care about it. So I would say when you're trying to make changes, translate it to where it's going to be easier for your team and help them realize like this is actually going to make your job easier. So
yeah.
quick wins though, when I go into an office, first things I'm always looking for are like they're very basic. And I tell everyone, I'm like, people ask all the time, Kiera, how do you go into an office, flip it like a 10 to 30% increase in production within your first 30 to 90 days? Like, how do you do this? And I'm like,
Yeah.
the answer is it's the simple low hanging fruit that you think is like not important that will
Mm,
flip a practice. So what I'm about to share, Rebecca, is nothing glam. It's not glitz.
mhm,
It's literally the like brush your teeth, floss your teeth, and you're going to not get cavities. Same type of thing. It's, are you having morning huddles where you're looking to win the day? I'm looking
mm,
to see, does your team prepare, and are we just filling a schedule, or are we productively filling that schedule and making it an ideal schedule for us and also for
mhm.
our doctor? Because, and it's funny, I interview consultants all day long and I say like, what is a good productive schedule? And they're like, if it's just full. And I'm like, but break that down for me. Like, what does full mean? Because I can like
Yeah.
slam a bunch of crown seats in that schedule and that's full. And doctor's real angry at the end of that day. Like, that was not a
Right.
productive day. So I'm
Yeah.
looking for morning huddles. I'm also
Mm,
looking to see, are they like, depending upon what their needs are, I don't usually come in with a set like, okay, here's what we need to do. It's really, what are your goals of your practice? Because that's
mm,
all going to tie to different things. But like quick hit items are morning huddles, handoffs, making sure we're transferring that information. And like, I'll just give you a real dreamy one. I call it the NDTR, like never date the rookie or
mm,
neuter or whatever the heck you want to remember this for. But it stands for like next visit, date to return, time needed for appointment, and then recared scheduled. And like
mm.
those four little pieces, I have literally taken case acceptance same day from like 50% to 100%,
Wow.
added over $25,000 worth of treatment just on that one simple little phrase, because
Mm,
patient hears it, they know exactly what they need to schedule for. Front office hears it, or clinical team hears it, doctor said it, and everybody's on the same page. That will radically increase communication, radically increase the patient experience, make it easier. And then I'm looking for other things that are maybe soft skills. So, like, how are we answering the phone? What's our patient experience? Are we
yeah.
tracking KPIs? Are we doing one on one with our team members so we don't lose team members? And then whatever else it is, like, and for every practice, it's different. So that's something I love about what we do and the autonomy we give our consultants is it is truly just like a treatment plan. What do you guys want? What are your goals as a team and as an owner? And
Yeah.
then let's add those pieces in. But I think that's a pretty quick hit list of items that are going to be a quick, like, immediate momentum that you
Yeah.
can implement and see a big difference really quickly.
Yeah. That's so good. That just reminds me of the quote, small hinges open big doors. And it's like,
Yes,
if you can just pay attention to those details that you may not think are that impactful, I feel like that's an incredible way for practice owners to just like, whoa, there's some little things that you can dial in that will make a huge difference moving
for
forward.
sure. Yeah.
That's so awesome. So obviously, COVID hit in 2020 and the entire healthcare industry shifted forever because of it. How did the dental A team handle COVID hitting and how did that impact your business? And did it shift your strategy moving forward with dental practices?
Yeah. I mean, we went from a traveling company to it's like planes are grounded, no one's flying, offices are shut down.
Yeah.
And I just feel real thankful. I feel like I'm like a squirrel with a lot of acorns, and I'm always
Mm,
afraid that life's going to fall out from underneath me. So I'm
mm,
constantly like building over here.
mm,
And so we actually had online resources and we quickly pivoted as a team to online. And so,
yeah.
but again, my model and our mission is to positively impact the world of dentistry in the greatest way possible. So our team
Mhm.
got together and we did like consultant roundtable. We realized like you guys have a ton of time. So we started running, we called it Workshop Wednesday. And we
Mhm.
started running workshops to help offices get their operations manuals created and done
Mhm.
during COVID. Cause we're like, you guys, you beg for time. Like I
Yeah.
hear that in every practice. I'm sure you do too, Rebecca. Like, Kiera, I
Yes.
just don't have enough time. I just don't have enough
Yep.
time. I just don't have enough time. And I'm like, you guys were just gifted with a truckload of free time. So
Right.
like, let's make the most of it. So we really pivoted and I feel super blessed and super fortunate that we actually grew during COVID. We were on a lot of webinars. We were trying to give out
Mhm.
as much information as we could. We had tons of online resources for offices. We had a
That's
lot of
awesome.
offices actually start consulting during COVID because they thought, hey, like we've got downtime. They had no
Yeah.
idea. And kudos to them for having the like abundance mindset rather than scarcity. But I feel
Yeah.
real thankful. I just remember, so I flew home from Antarctica. I
Wow.
tried to go back and like I tried to convince my husband that we should keep going. And he was like, here, I got to get back to work. So we got off the boat. We went to Disneyland on Saturday. Sunday, we flew home. Monday, I start on my coaching calls. And literally from my 6 a.m. call to my 11 o'clock call, things are shutting down. Everything's happening. My clients are like, what's going on?
Wow.
And that boat that I was going to be on, going back to Antarctica, got stuck in the ocean for 2 months. And I'm like, wow, that was a real big blessing. But I remember
Wow.
sitting there thinking, like, I don't even know what's going on. I don't know what's happening for these clients. I don't know how, like, there was pure panic. And I am so thankful I had a coach because she literally kept me like solid, stalwart, like, Kiera, you've got to be strong for your clients. You need to be thinking
Mhm.
50 feet ahead. And
Yeah.
that's just where I think I got like a huge testimony of like, you need to have a good coach. You need to have someone in your corner. And as we're headed into a recession, I'm like, do you have someone who's going to be mentally strong for you? Because that's
Yeah.
how we pivoted. We grew during COVID. We had
Yeah.
so many people come through, and I just feel very thankful and fortunate. But I do remember going from March, coming back from Antarctica, to September, getting on my first plane and being utterly terrified. And now it's kind of like
Yeah.
you think back, and you're like, it was fine. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine because we knew what was happening. But at that
Right.
time, I'm like, I've never met someone who's died of the flu. I really haven't. But I
Yeah.
knew people dying of COVID, and you see these cities impacted in ways that we couldn't even imagine. And so I
Yeah.
think back to how grateful I am that we were able to pivot and change. And then it was fun. And
Mhm.
then we became like ridiculously busy because everyone wants people to come to their practices because they don't want to fly anywhere. So you really definitely ramped up, and we all definitely went around the world a couple of times in those next couple of months. But
Yeah.
during that time, it was really a big pivot to we can do things virtually. I think the best thing for us, and I'm sure you feel this, is offices got comfortable doing things on Zoom. And I feel the need and necessity for in person became
Mm.
less. And they realized that a lot could actually get done virtually more so than they thought that they
Yeah.
could be.
Absolutely. Yeah. We kind of have a similar story as a company of COVID. Really, I mean, we launched during COVID. We launched July of 2020. So,
Mhm.
but, I think that it couldn't have been more perfect timing because, virtual assistants, remote outsourcing was perfect. And I think there's something to be said for pivoting, right? And knowing when to pivot and not being scared. And I like that your mindset, you're always thinking ahead, right? You're thinking about what's going to happen next because that's, your job as CEO is to be that visionary for your company. So just the fact that you guys were able to grow during COVID is such a testament to that. So that kind of leads to my next question. So obviously, technology became essential for practices to embrace, especially because of COVID. So, where do you see dental practices or medical practices? How much more important is technology going to become moving forward? Just what are your thoughts about that?
Ooh, such a good one. I love juicy questions like this because I feel dentistry is stuck almost in the 1800s. And I'm either going to be like really well liked or really hated based on that comment. And I'm okay with either one. But I just think we're such a dated industry in so
Mm,
many ways. Like when I hear offices say, like, Kiera, we don't collect when they're leaving the practice. Like, we've never done that. We just send them a statement. And I'm like, do you go to the grocery store and put it on your tab? Because I'm pretty confident those days are over.
yeah,
Um, I just feel that that need for technology is so paramount. And I
yeah,
feel offices that will take advantage of it and not be afraid are going to be the offices that absolutely crush it moving forward. Like, and it's
Yeah.
so fun. I mean, I just think like you even go to restaurants, QR codes were a dinosaur pre-COVID. Like people were
Yeah.
like, we don't use QR codes. Those are dumb. Those are a thing of the past. Boom,
Yep.
baby, guys. Those things came back. And I feel it's the
Yep.
same thing with technology. Whether it's you outsource your insurance or you have a virtual assistant or you have these different things that are offered. If you have like AI is coming in hot and strong. And I
Yep.
think any business out there, any practice out there thinking that we're just going to keep it as is, I feel you're in for a really exciting awakening when you realize you were left behind and it's
Hmm.
going to be really hard for you to catch back up. So I'm on like a mantra of like, guys, like get on board now, start
Yeah.
thinking ahead, look to where the future's going. It's not going backwards. There is no like return to normal. This is normal. And it's just
Yep.
accelerating DSOs coming in. Like it's not going to stop or slow the pace. And so I
Hmm.
think you've got to get on board, embrace it, love it, find ways because also I think our culture around work radically shifted as well. People realize they didn't have to work as much. They
Yeah.
don't need incomes. They can get by on a lot less. They'd rather travel and be with their families. And so you have this workforce shift of mindset. People don't
Hmm.
want to work as many hours. You have so then we don't have people. We're in a
Right.
hygiene drought, which is kind of starting to come out, but still you're in a hygiene drought. Now we're moving into a dental assistant drought. Like
Mm.
it is paramount to outsource to find things. And what's great is then those companies, they take care of it for you and they don't, you like, they worry about people calling out sick, but your business can flourish and move. I don't think dentistry will be
Yeah.
replaced. I think there will be always a need of hand skills and whatnot. But I
Yes.
do think a lot of what we do is definitely on its way to being replaced because it has to. And I
Yeah.
think that that's a beautiful thing for our industry.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, yeah, it just goes back to, being strategic about looking ahead and figuring out, we know we're going into recession. So how can dental practice owners prepare for this oncoming recession? I'm sure that you are having these conversations all the time with your clients. So, what are a few things you can tell our listeners to, how can they prepare? Because everyone is freaked out. You see the news headlines, you hear all the whispers, but it's just so uncertain moving forward. So, what's some advice that you would give?
Yeah. So I would give the advice of number one, you got to have a strong mindset. If you don't have that right now, like start getting it. And that can be through
Mhm.
meditation. I think meditation is workout for the mind and
Mhm.
meditating, journaling, getting yourself into a good headspace, snagging a coach if you need a coach, but
Yeah.
whatever's going to keep you mentally strong because like we're going into warrior mode. Like, can you go through? I feel like it's like, are you that buffalo that's just going to keep walking through that freaking storm? Or are you
Yes.
going to be like the chicken that's like running around, like trying to get cover and like the sky's falling on you?
Yeah.
Who are you? And you've got to get that mindset lock down solid. So that's number
Yeah.
one. Number two, I think also be really smart with your finances. I feel like
Mhm.
business owners have a responsibility to know their numbers. And if you don't know it,
Yeah.
like you better learn it and start getting money in
Yep.
reserve because if you've got that, it's not going to be scary. You're going to be able to pivot, you're going to be able to
Yeah.
morph, and it's going to help you feel a lot more secure. So that'd be
Yeah.
number two. And then number three, it's like outsource, figure out solutions. Like let's pretend right now your entire team left. Like just for an instant, like poof, it's you, you've got a full schedule. What softwares, what technology out there could you
Mhm.
immediately implement tomorrow that's going to replace this workforce? Because I think with the economy shifting, people are going to make weird decisions and it's not going to make
Yeah.
sense. They're going to be shifting. And so I would have a plan of my resources like on speed dial, ready to go. That way, in a moment's instant, like if people lose their front office, and I'm like, okay, have you trained your clinical team to be able to present treatment plans? Can you
Right.
take payments in the back? So, like, whole front office, poof, gone. Can your
Mhm.
clinical team take care of that? Could you
Yeah.
outsource your billing? Can you have somebody who can answer your phone calls for you? Can you have different people in different places? What
Yeah.
about training? What about onboarding? Like, do you have these processes in place right now? So you could literally go hire someone awesome at Starbucks and they could
Yeah.
come in and be a killer dental assistant. And if you don't have that, build that now. And then that way it's like, and then bring it on. Be excited, generate, accelerate.
Mhm.
I think like recessions are where billionaires and millionaires are made and the best
Absolutely.
companies are created during this time. And I
Yeah.
think it's because the strongest, they're mentally strong. They thought ahead, they prepared, and then they pivoted and morphed and didn't sit here and think, why is this happening to me? But
Mhm.
instead, like, all right, how are we going to get through this like that buffalo going through the storm? And they
Yeah.
make it and they're beyond successful more than they ever could have imagined.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, something we talk about a lot is grit and having that grit to keep moving forward. And really, like, it's all about the people that you have on your team. If you have the right people in the right places, you're going to be able to get through any storm, as long as you're thinking ahead and being strategic. So I wanted to ask you, because obviously you've built a very successful company. Your entire job is helping others build successful practices, and a huge part of that is staffing. So, what would you say is your philosophy for finding the right people? Like some of the things that you look for in people. What makes someone an excellent candidate that you would immediately say, I want them on my team, or they should be on your team for your practice?
Yeah, well, and thank you for that. And I'm so glad you said that because with this recession and all these pieces, that's another piece of like, you've got to have a place that people want to work. So,
Yeah.
like, what do you need to do? I'm not talking about like you're bringing them coffee every day. Like, that could be great, but how's that culture? Is the trust in your company? What is the grit? What are your core values? Like, and
Yeah.
is that really core of your company? So,
Mm.
with hiring, I actually have found a lot of different things. So I'll give a like really cool piece out there to the listeners. This has saved me literally $15,000 last year. There's a
Wow.
company called Viva HR on our website, you guys, or you can let them know Dental A Team has it. I have a discounted rate, but they
Mm.
allow you to post on every single platform for $99 a month, unlimited posting. And that to me is like just allowing these practices to win. So number one, like use your resources again. Let's be smart
Mhm.
with how we're doing this. But the second thing is like we're not great interviewers. There's a lot of ways that you can't interview and we don't know and people can charm you. And so I think having
Yeah.
grace for yourself of like you're going to do the best you can, but I do think that there are some tools that you can have. So I am real big on like put your money where your mouth is. So if you
Mhm.
tell me that you're an incredible biller, when they come in, I make them like say like, okay, perfect, pull my AR report. Tell
Mm.
me what I need to do. So
Yeah.
that way I can see, do they actually have the technical skills that they say they do? If they're a treatment
Yeah.
coordinator, I'm like, perfect. I'm your patient, present this treatment plan and print it out and watch them present it to you. Can they present financing? Are they afraid of money? Give them a huge one. Like, let's do a $50,000 all like complete implant case. Can they present that to you? When they're
Yeah.
scheduling, be a patient, have them actually answer the phone. When they're assisting or hygiene, like have them actually do the work, I think is a
Mhm.
really good
That's
way
good.
to not subjectively like them, but also make sure that it's something where objectively I can say, yes, they actually have the skill set. And then
Yeah.
there's another really cool program that's out there, and it's called Culture Index. And we've actually worked with them a lot. We've got a lot of discounted rates through them.
Mm.
But a lot of our offices are using them. And what's really cool about that is you can actually see like, for me, I'm a people person and I love people. So if I met Rebecca, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I love her, bring her in because
Mhm.
I just like you. You're a really
Yeah.
likable person. But my gut and liking people has gotten me into not the best places sometimes because I'm like, shoot,
Sure.
I like this person. I can't fire them. Like, ugh. So
Yeah.
Culture Index allows you to actually see a profile of a person and ensure they're who you actually want to hire rather
Mm.
than who you think you want to hire. So I feel like those are like some really good tools to go out there to have it not be as subjective of like, what's
Mm.
my gut? How do I feel? But to actually have a process around hiring and hiring these great teams because it's
Yeah.
crazy. Right person, right seat is freaking magic. Right person, wrong seat is just like grinding gears that aren't meant to happen.
Yep.
And then wrong person, wrong seat, that's just definitely a disaster. And it's kind of funny because I had a lot of trainings about hiring yesterday. And there's a quote right here that says, and it's by John D. Rockefeller, and it says, don't be afraid to give up the good to go for the great. And I
Mm.
think with hiring,
So good.
sometimes you really just think like, oh, this person's good enough. And I'm like, I don't want freaking B or C or D team players. We
Yeah.
want A team. That's why I named it the A team.
Yep.
Because you have A team players, things are so much easier. It's easier to manage. It's easier to get things done. And I'm not trying
Yep.
to like push them to make it happen, but they're equally rowing with me as well.
Mm. I love it. Yeah, that's so good. Everything you said is so true. And I think that, yeah, that's such a key to growth is just getting the right people in. And it definitely takes time. And, I've had people on my team where I look back and I'm like, I wish I just had waited for someone that I loved to hire and that I knew would be amazing instead of just trying to fill the role just because, oh, they're good enough, So I can totally relate to that. So I think just having that patience that's such a good tip for practice owners.
I think like, what kind of a practice do you want to have long term?
Yeah.
Like, do you want this like sloppy seconds? We'll take whomever we can get.
Mm-hmm.
Or do we want one that's like elite? No, we're going to be patient, because I will promise you, your good team members would rather wait for the right ideal person than put someone in there who's just going to be harder, isn't showing up on time, and creates more problems long term. It seems like, and it's like, choose your heart. Is it harder to wait for that perfect person? Or is it harder to hire someone that's not ideal? You either have to fire them or mentor them or give so much time, energy, and exhaustion. Choose your heart on that, and believe that you sloppy seconds. Like, you deserve the best, and you should have the best, and they are coming, and know that they're truly on their way to you.
Love it. So good. So talking about culture and, establishing a strong culture that's going to make people want to stay with you long term. How do you go about creating a strong culture? Say you are consulting for a practice that they're struggling with that. They don't really have core values or a mission or a vision. What are some ways that you can build that up and, keep your people long term?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because this was something I didn't do well. And I was so concerned about people liking me and trying to create this culture where everyone was happy. And I'm like, that's not going to work out. So I realized that culture, I read a great book. I'm sure you've read it, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willings. Like, when I read the line that everything good and bad is a direct reflection of me as a leader, I think I like stopped, my mouth dropped open. I felt like I'd just been stabbed by someone, because I realized like my team is just a mirror to me. And so if I've got turnover, if I've got people who don't want to be here, if I've got lazy workers, like, that's me. Like, Kiera, like, wake up. And I remember there was a moment I felt like I like almost out of bodied in my own company, and I was watching and I'm like, oh gosh, I've made all this and I don't even know how to get out of it. And I feel like I say that culture is such a tricky thing, because we're in a world of instant gratification, and culture is a slow burn with minimal gratification for a long time. And so things that I found are, number one, like, figure out what your core is. And we can sit here all day long and think of core values. And I can't remember what book. I wish I could, to give credit to this one. But I remember they said, like, it's the 3 things that were the core of what you started this business with. So if you go back and think of like, what were the things you wanted to create? What was that? And for me, it was like, I want a place that's fun, that's easy. Like, we're going to make things easy for people, and we're always going to do the right thing. Like, those are my 3 cores. Like, everything else is great, but that was my 3 core pieces. And then, we're up to 7. Ours are cute little core values, and we call it the dope GIF. And our marketing team made us a literal GIF that says dope. And I think it's hilarious because I love wit. But we use our core values literally every day. So it's in our morning huddle. Wednesday's core value shout out. Their one-on-ones are around the core values. And that, to me, I feel like I'm subconsciously and consciously infiltrating in my team who I want them to be here at work. On day 1 of your interview, or like, I ask people about the core values and which one resonates with them. And when they come on, I have a brand new team member starting today. And I literally spent my 10 minutes with her was all around our core values, saying, this is our culture. This is what our core is. This is what these means. And this is what I expect of you. And this is what our team is like. Yeah. That is going to make it amazing. And then you read 5 Dysfunctions of Teams. The bottom level is trust. So I'm like, are you actually having trust, like vulnerable conversations? Are we having peer-to-peer accountability, where it's not just leadership to peer, but peer to peer? Are they holding each other accountable? Are they saying things? Are we gossiping behind each other's backs? Like, that's the type of stuff that will drive people away. It's not money. It's yes, who's appreciating them, but is it a workplace that makes them feel trustworthy? Is it a workplace that has that? And then my last tangible is, and this one's hard. This one, I was not a lover of this. This is like doing sit-ups, and you don't see the freaking rewards for like months, forever, like until you stop eating cookies. Like, it's there. Those bottom 2 abs never come in. until you like really work hard. And I think that's how this was. But every Friday, I actually write an email, and a lot of our clients will do this. And I call it the Friday Five. And it's 5 highlights or 5 things that need to be identified or 5 good things that happen within your organization. And what that is again, it's that subtle infiltration of your culture. It's
Mm,
highlighting team members who are living the examples. And
mm.
I don't highlight every team member. Like, I don't give everyone an award, and I don't give everyone
Yeah.
a trophy. And what I've seen is it took me a solid year of Friday Fives and morning huddles and core values and monthly one-on-ones with the core values in there
Mm,
before I saw this shift to where I'm like, I actually think our culture is a place that has raving fan team members that
mm.
are content. Like, I don't think everyone's going to be happy. I don't think it's
Yeah.
always going to be great, but I think people are content. They
Mm,
love what they do, right
yeah.
people, right seats. And it's having uncomfortable conversations too, because that builds that trust and honesty. So again, I
Yeah.
feel like culture is I think it's hard in our culture today because we want it immediate. And there's so
Yeah.
many, I mean, guys, you can Botox and you can be a young woman or man again in like a second. We can go
Right.
get our hair done. Like, we can get a tan. We can filter ourselves, like all these different things we can do and instantly make our lives better.
Right.
But culture is this very low, slow burn
Yeah.
that takes time to build. But when you have it, it's unstoppable, it's undeniable, and your team operates without you there doing how you want it to be done because they love what they're doing and they're bought into that culture.
Yeah, that's so good. I love it. It's like, once again, going back to it's a marathon, not a sprint, and you're not going to see, incredible results overnight. So I think that there's so much wisdom. You're bringing so much wisdom. I love it. Like, this is just awesome.
Thank you.
So I wanted to wrap up with a few questions about just your personal journey and how you became the leader that you are. You obviously have so much insight and you've put in the work. And I guess if you could talk about your process of, you just seem like a lifelong learner, right? You seem like you're always trying to be the best version of yourself for your company. How do you maintain that, right? Like, how do you keep running that marathon and not get burnt out and, continue casting vision for your team and your company?
Gosh, that is a really great question, Rebecca. And as you're asking, and I was thinking, like, gosh, like, what do I do? And
Mhm.
I think like going back to the example of when I was business owner young, I think as business owners, I always thought like, again, let me grind it out, let me build it right now, and then I'll be
Yeah.
there. There is no arrival, guys. Like, this is the arrival. So you might as well enjoy it right here. And
Mm,
I think this really awesome today. And so things that I've done, I'm really big on cadences. I don't like to have to try and remember things. Like, my billing is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I can
mm,
remember it. Podcast days on Thursdays. Like, I
yeah.
just have cadences set up. But
Yeah.
I try to do a book a month minimum of,
Mm.
and like there's a ton of them out there. So my Audible is just jam packed when I'm flying. I've gotten it up to where I can do that at about 4 times the speed, and I can
Wow.
just consume books. It because I like love to push my limits, but I
Yeah.
think it's like find fun in it too. I mean, reading
Mm,
books can be cool, but trying to like get it to 4 times the speed and comprehend it and take notes, like that's me challenging myself on a personal level. But I really
right.
think like as leaders, oh gosh, this is going to sound like very egotistical, and I hope it comes across the way I'm intending it. Like, you are the golden goose. You
Mm,
are the person that you need to treat like a Ferrari. And I'm not saying like
mm,
you need to go sit in your office and have people like bring you bonbons and like fan you. Like, that's not what I'm referring to. I'm saying
mm,
like you got to freaking take care of yourself and give
yeah.
yourself that substance that is going to grow you. So I think about myself as like a Ferrari, and I'm like, okay, I love cars. I'm a big car girl. I love to race. And I just think if I had a Ferrari in the garage, which I don't, one day maybe, guys, I don't know. It just seems like so awesome and frivolous and like ridiculous, all mixed into one. Like, no
Right.
judgment to anyone who has one because I secretly want it too. But like, you don't even have an emergency brake. Like, what the heck? But I just think like, how would I treat that car? I would
Mm,
like no dust would be on it, and it would get like hand waxed, and it would have like
right.
premium fuel in it, and it would be like everything would be making sure that that thing was pristine. And yet,
Mm,
do we treat our bodies that way? Do we give
mm.
ourselves the proper rest? Do we feed
Wow.
our minds
So
with
good.
good nutrition? Are we fueling our bodies with healthy nutrition? Are we getting mentors? And are we like
Mm,
what we're consuming? Is it like social media? Awesome on some levels and total junk on others. And I'm like, I gotta
yeah,
be careful because what goes in this brain is who I become. And I need to make sure that
right.
I'm really, really keeping myself there. So I feel like it's that matter of realizing like you are the golden goose. You are the
Mhm.
we got to keep you good
Yeah,
for your family. And I think I realized like I need to be able to enjoy right now. And that's something that I'm allowed to do. Like, it does
yeah,
not freaking matter what your bank account looks like. It does not matter. Like, you are living the dream. Like, what you're living today is what you dreamed of before. And so, like,
yeah,
why can't we celebrate that? Why can't we have fun with it? Why can't we take care of our bodies? Like,
yep.
that is the fuel rather than being like, I don't know. A good question to ask yourself, and I've asked myself this many times is, Kiera, if you were an employee of yourself, would you keep working for you?
That's good.
Because I think that that will then help you see like, heck no, there's no freaking way I'd work for myself.
Yeah.
And if not, then let's change that. Let's change that because that's going to keep you growing. And then whatever it is for you, for me, it is constant knowledge and growth. Like I love to go to
Mhm.
places where I'm inspired. I don't want to
Yeah,
be the smartest person in the room. I want to feel like dumb because then I know I've got really smart people that are inspiring me to be better. So I feel
yeah,
like it's a mixture of like, take care of your body like a Ferrari, make sure that you're living and loving what you're doing right now and then have like good mentors or things that are fueling you in your mental mind that's making you think bigger. Get a like peer group that is something that will help you see far beyond what you could be. Like I remember being in an audience and there was this girl and she was super super ill and I felt so good that like I donated $100. And then I
mm,
remember someone stood up and they donated 10 grand. And
wow.
I looked over and I'm like, I want to be them. I want to
Mm,
have it to where disposable to give to a cause that I feel so like compelled to give to and want to give that I could drop 10 grand in a second. But if I would not have gone to this and seen what was possible, I wouldn't have been able to think bigger. And so get around people that make you think bigger. And like don't compare. There's no need for comparison. It's very easy to do, but
yeah,
like you're on your own journey,
yeah,
but be around people that help fuel that vision of who you can become, of what you can become. Because without seeing that, you're always dreaming in your world of how big it can be. And there's a world outside of you that you were made to be. So level up your peer group. I think for me, at least, that's what helps me really maintain that leadership sharpness, if you will. And then just like read good books. There's so much wisdom and knowledge in the minds of people around us, and it's so available. Like, spend your time doing that instead of scrolling and comparing of like why your practice isn't as great. So that would be my
mm,
recommendation.
love it. That's such practical advice that, it's so simple, right? It's like read books, exercise, get enough sleep, surround yourself with good people, but it's so hard to follow sometimes, as you're getting caught up in life and work. Thank you so much for all of that wisdom. I want to wrap it up with one last question. Looking back, if you can give your 20-year-old self one piece of advice, looking back and knowing that you were filled with dreams and hopes for the future, what would you say to 20-year-old Kiera?
I think I've got two answers. I've got like a soft skill one and a tangible one. And my tangible one would be know your numbers and start investing now. Like you
Mhm.
hear it all the time, but like we don't do it. And I wish I would have known my numbers better. Like what is profitability? What is overhead? What
Mm,
should I be preparing? I think that that just cuts out so much stress and allows for so many more options in the future. And I like options. To me, that's ultimate success is being able to live my life the way I want to live it, the way I choose to live it with freedom to do what I want to do. So that would
yeah.
be like tactical.
Mhm.
The soft side would be like, just go for it. Like love yourself and trust yourself. Like you're going to do it. And if you have that itch inside of you, it's never going to go to sleep. Like
Yeah.
live it, do it. You are called for something. And whatever you choose to believe spiritually, I feel that we really are like we have innate greatness within us.
Mhm.
I just often think that we hold ourselves back and we come up with every reason not to do it. Then I'm like, why not just go for it? Why not
Yeah.
just do it today? You have one life to live. And the way I envision it is I want to be like sliding into home base, going into my grave, ringing out like with so much joy and passion that I lived
Yeah.
my life for me and not for anyone else. I lived a life that I'm proud of, that if I was seeing myself, like I'd be cheering me on. And I hope for everyone else that that's what they can do. And that's what I tell myself of like, live full out for you. Live
Yeah.
the life you want to live, not the one that you think everyone else wants you to live.
I love it. That's so good. Well, Kiera, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You have dropped so many truth bombs and brought so much just relevant, timely info to our listeners. So thank you again. And where can people find you? You know, if they want to take their dental practice to new heights, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Rebecca, it's been a honest, like absolute pleasure. You're just a ball of sunshine and I adore you. And when I meet you in your home place, I'm going to just give you a big hug. So thank you for
Oh,
having me.
of course.
And if you want, come hang out with us on the podcast. We have the Dentally Team podcast. But also for your listeners, something real fun. Like if you want us tangibly in your practice, we fly there. But April 28th and 29th, we're actually doing a virtual team summit. And let's not like think of a summit as like lots of speakers, you sit there passively. If you've heard me at all, you probably can only imagine how this is. And this year it is Secrets of the Multi-Million-Dollar Practice. We're sending swag boxes. It's full team, like retreat style. We're
Wow.
sharing all the secrets, tangible, tactical with the whole team involvement. And for your listeners, you guys can head on over to thedentalateam.com/summit 2023. And then if you guys use coupon code eBird 2023, so it's for early bird right now, eBird 2023, you get your full team ticket, $300 off at $699 entire team. I don't care if you've got 5 team members or if you've got 500, bring them. Everybody gets CE. It's going to be a freaking good time. So if you want to have fun, I just think it's a way to level up your team, level up you. It's a way to I'm going to mix you with a bunch of dentists too, guys. So you're going to meet new people. You're going to level up your friend group. But either the podcast or come on over to Summit. It'll be a real fun time. And for your listeners, that's $300 off for you guys off of our team ticket.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much again, Kiera. I really appreciate it and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.